How you doing?
I'm pretty good. I've been busy.
Yeah, I think both of us have been pretty busy.
It's been crazy, but that's a good thing.
Oh,
I think that's a good problem to have.
Readjust in this terrible chair. These chairs are miserable, but you do what we have to suffer through to bring the podcast to the masses.
That's right.
Yeah, we've both been super busy. We're recording this early because we're going away this weekend.
Yeah.
So that has
really
kind of
nice.
It's going to be good, but it's pushed up a lot of our schedule, which is part of, so by the time you see this, we'll already be back. Wow, the power of editing.
No, we won't be back yet.
Oh, well, we'll have a couple more days. Whatever. Anyway, yeah, things are good.
Yeah.
I'm hitting a little bit of a stride, loving the new.
You hit a great PR the other day.
Oh, yeah. Training has been really good.
Yeah.
I wanted to follow me on Threads, by the way, if you want to, but I put out a thread about kind of a postmortem about training. I think a lot of people just kind of finish a training block and you can dip into a little bit of like malaise or depression post-training block because you don't really have anything going on.
Yeah.
A deload week after that training block can feel really weird, but I did something that I encourage a lot of people to do, which is just a post-mortem on what you did really well and what you'd like to improve on. So yeah, I mean, I hit a new PR on deadlift with a little bit of space in between there. Had I properly peaked, I think I could have probably hit around like 575, 580. Yeah. I hit 562. Which
amazing.
Was great with a ton of fatigue on me because, like I said, I didn't deload beforehand. My squat felt good. I'm dealing with a little bit of knee pain and an elbow pain, so I didn't really test my squat or my bench, but those both are feeling really good.
Yeah.
So that was great. And I got more data on how to mentally prime myself. Is another thing that I've really learned this year is just the mental arousal side of powerlifting. On a day-to-day basis. So like there are some days when you go in and specifically in training, they're there just for physiological touches to keep everything fresh so that the movements feel good so that you're not squatting and then you're waiting a week and you're squatting again, right? But you don't need the same level of mental arousal on your tertiary squat day that you do on your primary squat day. And I was coming into every single day, double scooping the pre-workout, metal going in the ears, going to deep, dark places in my brain to get myself hyped.
And that sounds really exhausting.
Burning out.
Yeah.
So I have strategically placed days and I've made different playlists for different days. And some days I just listen to an audiobook or a podcast because music really gets me to different places.
Sets the tone. Yeah.
And I moderate my caffeine and that helps a lot too.
Wow, that's really interesting.
But it's more so the music. So on primary days, I'll have the specific primary songs that I'm really leaning on to get me to different places. And I'll do some mental work and some breathing exercises to really hype me up. And so I've implemented that in a lot of my coaching with a lot of my clients, and I think they're also responding to it really well. I'm not breaking any new ground here. There's a lot of people that talk about this type of stuff, but I think
I've never heard of that before. Though.
Well, I'm deep in the in the powerlifting world.
As a layperson, I had never considered that.
Well, I don't really know if it translates very well to general exercise because you could say that you could lean on mental arousal for general exercise a lot of the time. I think a really good thing to do that's kind of in the same vein as this. I got this from one of the self-help books I read this year. I'm all over the place. I want to do an episode probably closer to the end of the year where I talk about 4 books that I really think people should read going into the new year.
I think that's a great idea.
Because I go through a lot of garbage self-help books, a lot. It's my guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
They're usually 3 to 4 hours on Audible and I listen on 2 times speed. So I am cranking them out.
Yeah.
But I have found a good mix of 4 or 5 that I really, really think are impactful. So I want to do that. That's coming soon, coming attractions. What in the world was I even talking about? Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I just came home from
You just came home
from the gym. So I'm
a little hyped up.
I was doing cardio today. A way to utilize that type of mental arousal in just general life. Say you know that you need to work out, but you really, really dread it, is you can kind of gatekeep an audiobook that you really like or a podcast that you really like and only listen to it when you're in the gym.
Temptation bundling is what that's called.
Well, yeah, there's many different. Yeah. If you listen to James Clear, that's that. And if you listen to whatever you want to call it, that's the thing. Yeah. So I use a little bit of that, but it's kind of a different perspective. Anyway, that's what and then on the negative side of things, in terms of things that I wanted to improve on, my conditioning really got away from me. as you peak in a powerlifting program, your volume comes down. Obviously, your intensity comes up. So you're not getting a lot of cardiovascular carryover. You're not getting a lot in general in powerlifting. But when you're doing volume sets of 6 and 7, for a bigger guy like me, you can get some cardio there. Yeah. But I went for about 4 weeks of high intensity training. So I wasn't doing any outside cardio because I didn't want to get any interference. I wasn't getting any real cardio, and I was doing a set, sitting down for 5 minutes, doing another set. I was living the powerlifting lifestyle. So my conditioning got away from me really bad. And I've noticed my resting heart rate's coming up.
Yeah.
I'm getting more winded when I really shouldn't be in general life. So that's something that I really want to improve on, and something that I've already started. Like I just said, came home from 45 minutes of incline walk with a weighted vest on. Mm-hmm. I have found some cardio that doesn't really have a lot of carryover to my main lift, so I just lean on that on rest days, and then I do a little bit extra walking. I've bumped my steps up to 1,500. So it's not anything drastic. I'm not running a marathon. Powerlifting is still the main thing, but it's a way for me to increase my conditioning a little bit more, kind of keep my weight more in check, and go from there. So I really encourage you, if you're coming to the end of a program, if you're coming to the end of a block of training, do a postmortem and say, what did I do really well? What do I want to improve on? Pat yourself on the back because you deserve it. You've gotten through a hard thing of training, but also it's not all roses. There's stuff, everybody has stuff that they can improve on and fix, whether it's mental, physical, preparation wise. So, and put those in place and see how much you can improve.
Yeah.
Just spinning your wheels without ever thinking about it is useless.
I agree.
Especially in this sport.
Right, exactly.
Sorry, I've been talking for 10 minutes.
No, that's great. Are you excited about the new Calgary Barbell program? I know you love Calgary Barbell. Mm-hmm. You've not used one of their programs before, right?
I never have.
Are you excited?
Yes. So it's funny, I just finished editing the program review for the program that I was just on. Those are some of the most fun videos that I have making.
Yeah.
Because I learned so much from it. Because I'm always trying to take little things from other like really good coaches and use it in my own training personally, but also in my business.
Yeah.
So I love the way Calgary Barbell approaches things. I love their content. I like their mindset more so than anything else. I think on YouTube, I kind of align in their training styles. They're pretty much who I model myself after.
Yeah.
So I signed up for the app. I'm in the Discord, which has already been really, really fruitful. Like their Discord it's a paid Discord. Obviously you have to have the app to gain access to it, but there's a lot of information in there.
Yeah.
And they're always very active, and there's form checks and stuff like that. It's very similar to how I want our Discord to go. Mm-hmm. Not paid, obviously, but I want people to be able to come in and say, hey, I have a programming question, or I have a form check question, and kind of build a wealth of knowledge there. Because that's, the one thing about powerlifting that I don't love in terms of a sport is the individual nature of it. I've always really enjoyed team sports or just a collective aspect of like we're all working towards a collective goal.
Yeah.
So this is a way to kind of get a little bit of that. Because at the end of the day, unless you're competing against somebody head to head, we're all trying to get to the same place in terms of bettering ourselves, breaking new PRs in our totals or in a specific lift. So it helps to be in a group like that. Mm-hmm. I think a gym setting can help that as well. There's a lot of good gyms around here where you can kind of lean on other people. But yeah, I am very excited, and I'm very excited to do the review. I like to do them. They do really well on the channel. So yeah, look out for that. That review, that video should actually come out before this podcast. So if you're watching this, go back and watch that video.
Go check it out.
But yeah, how are you doing?
I'm good. I've had a lot of really exciting things come up at work lately, so that's
you're
really
crushing it.
Cool.
I don't know if you're allowed to talk about anything. It's always weird.
Yeah, no, I feel like I can. I feel like my work is not really why people are here watching this video, so I don't really talk about it that much.
How many times I got to tell you, it's our podcast. We can talk about whatever the heck we want to.
Well, essentially what's going on is there was like a problem.
Yeah.
Just some inefficiency in our workflow. And a buddy of mine who is a coworker and I kind of got together and made our own little solution for it. And it's just kind of kept getting bigger and bigger, which when we made it, it was just kind of something for us to use to make our lives better.
Right.
But then it was like our teammates started using it. Our market started using it. And was it only like a week and a half ago?
Yeah.
Our manager was like, hey, there's this thing, it's company-wide, and we work for a huge company, but it's company-wide, anybody who works for the company, like the bazillions of people, anybody can submit an idea. And, you know, if your idea gets picked, you get to like pitch it essentially to the big wigs.
Yeah.
And if your idea wins, then they make it part of the software. And I was like, oh, that's wild. And she's like, the deadline is 3 days from now. And I think you guys should do it. Like, this was on a Tuesday. The deadline was Friday. And it was a crazy week. I was like, told my coworker, I'm like, if you have time, like, we'll figure it out. We'll slap something together and turn it in. So it was like Friday at like 2:30.
Yeah.
We finally were able to, like, we were both available. We called each other. It's like, let's slapdash this together, send it in. They're not going to pick us, so whatever, but we might as well throw our hat in the ring. We ended up getting picked. Yeah. So we've met a bunch of people. We've formed a team with people we didn't know until last week.
Yeah.
And we're going to pitch this thing next Friday.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And I don't think we're going to win, but you never know. And I've met a lot of people and done some cool stuff.
I think at this point it's a win.
Huge win. I mean, even before this, it was a huge win.
Yeah. True.
But this is a really massive thing. It's, you know, do I have time?
Not really.
Not really, but I'm going to make time.
Part of the chaos that's going on in our lives right now.
Yeah, but but
you're doing well.
It's something that's worth
if there's one
putting
thing,
time into.
If there's one thing I know about you is that you're really good at time management.
Yeah.
Especially in work.
Yeah.
Like work and deadlines and stuff like that. Like you were gifted with that ability, and I think you've trained that over the years too. You're planner queen and all that jazz.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll make it work.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean.
And it's exciting. Like I said, this is something worth working hard for.
Yeah, true.
Because it really could be, it's already a big thing, like you said, but it could be even bigger. Than it is. And if it wins, then like the software team is gonna implement it, make it happen. So
that would be nice.
That would be really cool.
If it was a more streamlined version just for your work day to day.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of cool. And yeah, my coworker and I were talking yesterday. It's like, I really never thought this was gonna
explode. You treated it kind of like, whatever, this is really helpful for me, but I don't know if this is going to be a thing. And then it kind of spiraled.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly.
Yeah, it did.
Corporate America moves fast, I guess.
It does and it doesn't.
I know.
You know, it's kind of weird in that way.
That was kind of a joke on my part. I guess it didn't
Things
land.
can change very quickly, but they also can take a long time to change. It just, you never really know what you're going to get.
If the shoe was on the other foot, I wouldn't have even submitted it. So there you go.
I almost didn't.
I'll tell you what, though.
I almost didn't.
This is an interesting thing. You really do find the place where you're supposed to be career-wise, I think. I think if you really work at it, because I tried to pigeonhole myself into a couple different things, and I think you did as well. You kind of get swept up in what you think is going to be a successful career, however you want to define that. For me, that was very monetary at first. And I've kind of, gone through a couple iterations of like, I really hate doing this thing.
Yeah.
And kind of fighting my natural tendency. I'm a great teacher. And I always fought against that because I was like, geez, I don't want to be a gym teacher or like a high school. I hated the idea of that. And so, you kind of find your way to, I'm teaching.
Right. There are lots of ways to be a teacher.
But in a different way that works a little bit better. I'm working with adults, thank God. And I didn't want to be a college professor because then it's like, you got to go through
the
PhD and all that garbage. And I hate education anyway, specifically college. I think college is a racket.
Yeah.
So I found a way. And for you, you're incredible at time management. You're incredible at administrative tasks, but you're also incredible at like empathy and like being you may not love talking to people, but you're really good at it.
Yeah. That's true.
You know what I mean? You're really, really good at it. It's funny because it's not something that you'd say, oh, I'm an extrovert. Like I think
No, I'm not an extrovert.
You would self-identify as an introverted person, but you've wiggled your way into a career where you can show off how good you are at talking to people, and relating to people, I think, is the best.
Yes.
You're just very empathetic, and that can be used poisonously, but I'm using that in the best way possible. You're an empath.
That's,
But you're also, usually, in my mind, empathetic people are kind of flighty. But you also have that type A personality of like, I'm going to get stuff done.
Yeah.
So you work really well in this job. I think you're pretty much made for this job because you need to be able to relate to the people that you're talking to, but you also have a schedule and you have deadlines and you have, a structure that you have to fit in, and you do a really good job of doing that. So all that to say, if you're younger and you're starting off in a career that you think is what you're supposed to do, be open
Right.
to other avenues. Obviously, while you're still gainfully employed, both of us found ways to maneuver while still paying the bills.
Right.
And if you've got a partner, that's 100% easier to do. If you're on your own, it can be a little bit more difficult. You feel a little bit more trapped. But keep your ears and your eyes open and really think about like what not makes you happy, but what you can feel fulfilled in. Like teaching for me is the reason that I'm on this earth.
Right.
In some capacity. And I think my love of fitness allows me to teach a very specific niche subject that I can find other people to teach and will allow me to teach them. And that gives me purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's your life lesson of the day.
Well, and I think you never can tell where your life is going to go.
No,
right?
100%.
And I think
that's why just the ability to be open.
Right. Yeah. When I got out of school, I never thought I would do anything other than full-time therapy. Never thought, because I love it. I still do.
Well, that's the thing. I think you come at it from a really interesting perspective in that you still liked the job that you were doing. In a different circumstance, I think it would have probably been a little bit better.
It just wasn't right for me to do it for
forever.
My whole career.
Yeah.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
But you still do it.
I still do it.
I think a lot of people think about like job changes as like I'm burning every bridge behind me and I'm doing something else.
And that's just not true.
Maybe not personally with relationships, but it's like I'm never going back to that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's possible
because I hated it so much.
You can pivot to related things. And, I think it's very possible that I'll pivot again at some point.
True. Yeah.
And, maybe 15 years from now,
switch
it'll
back
be
to therapy.
No, I don't think I'll ever go back to full-time therapy, to be honest with you. It's just not, I can't see it. I'm not going to say never. You never know. But I think it's possible to pivot enough that, 15 years down the line, you've done a complete 180 from where you started.
You're not in a very related field.
Right.
Right.
It's very possible.
Sure.
Incremental changes can move your life in a really different direction in a great way. That's a positive thing a lot of the time.
But I've talked a lot about like regretting my choice to go to film school. And I think one of the ways that I'm kind of working through that is understanding that was an opportunity for me to be open and experiment with something that I also loved.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a useless 3 years of my life in any way. And I'm still battling that. You wish that you could be open and not put yourself in a lot of student loan debt.
Sure.
But sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes you got to swing for the fences and say, listen, this could be something that I could do for the rest of my life. There's a world where COVID doesn't hit and I'm still doing that. You know what I mean? Like, so just being open to all those avenues and experiences, I think is really important. And it's hard, it can be hard. It's scary for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I also think it's important to not be afraid to take on something extra, to give something a try.
Yeah. That's another good point.
I think there's a big culture of like the quiet quitting, which I think has its place in a way.
Well, if you're being abused.
Right. I think that, there are definitely some employers that abuse their
advantage
employees and take advantage of you.
Yeah.
But if you're considering like, I might want to do a pivot.
Try something
else. If something comes up, a little extra thing that you can somehow fit into your day, do it.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a temporary thing.
Right.
It's just to try something and then you've, met new people and gotten a new experience and learned a new skill. I mean, it's good to do something extra every now and then, not to the point where you're ever going to burn yourself out. No, of course.
I agree.
But yeah, I don't know. That's just
you just have to. You got to be able to find that balance. I mean, I would have never found online powerlifting coaching had I not. Somebody was like, "Hey, I'm moving, but I still want you to do my programming for me." I was like, "Geez, I don't know how to do this. Let me whip up a Google Sheets and send it to you." It worked, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And then with my love of powerlifting also, I was like, man, people are doing this. Like, this is a real thing. But if I had just been like, no, I only take on in-person clients because that's what I knew and that's what I was comfortable with, I would have never been able to pivot the way that I'm pivoting now.
Right.
And I'm still in that process. I'm still hybrid. I still do in-person and online. And I've realized that I enjoy online more. And so I'm trying to maneuver towards that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just being open to stuff, man.
Even like this thing that I have going on right now, I said a few minutes ago, like, I don't have time for this, but I do for the 2 weeks that I have to do it, right? It's like a sprint for 2 weeks. I've learned about departments in the company that I never had heard of. And like,
that's valuable.
I find very interesting and I would like to know more about it. I mean, it's going to be a really crazy 2 weeks, but it's going to be totally worth it.
Well, it's so funny because when I first started personal training, I was opening the gym. I started at 5. So I was getting up at 4 to get to work on time. And looking back on it, I'm like, how did I do that? But it's funny what you're capable of doing in the moment. And I understood, like, this isn't my perfect schedule. But for now, this is a way for me to get exposure, get a lot of clients, because no other trainer was working until 9 a.m. So I had 5 to 9 by myself, and my books were full. I was making a lot of money at that point. And then when I wanted to shift away from it, I had some people leave, and I was like, okay, now's a good time. Let me start at 6, and let me start at 7. So you're capable of doing things. Put your head down and just get through it.
For a time.
Like, would I still be doing that now? No. I burned out pretty quick on the early morning schedules there.
You did.
But I was able to...
But I think it was worth it for the time that you were doing it.
Well, I did it for about 4 or 5 months, and then we moved over here, and it was easier to do it early because I wasn't commuting as much.
Right.
But things started to get better and better, and, you know, it went to 2 days a week where I was opening and 3 days a week where I wasn't. And that was great. And then it went to across the board. Now I'm starting at 7 or 8. Totally fine.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's your career counseling for the day. Do you have a fitness question for me?
I do. Okay. I wanted to ask about kind of the pros and cons of the different times of day when you can work out. Because my hours changed recently. I can't really work out in the morning anymore unless I wake up earlier, which I'm not willing to do.
Right.
I already wake up pretty early.
Yeah.
And I know a little bit about it. You know, like if you work out first thing in the morning, you might not be able to get a good pre-workout meal in. If you work out too late at night, maybe you'll be too hyped to get good sleep.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of considering, okay, what's gonna be my new block of time where
you train and
I
work out?
do my little workouts? And what are the pros and cons of different times of day?
Well, I think first and foremost, you are approaching it the right way, and that you're saying, okay, mornings don't work for me anymore. So let me figure out if evenings or kind of middle of the day at your lunch break. For ease, let's break this into 3. You've got early morning, you've got middle of the day, and then you got after work. Let's say those 3 are. I think those are the 3 probably most common times that people are training.
Yeah. So for me, that's, let's say 7 to 7:45,
right.
12 to 12:45, or 4:30 to 5:15.
Right.
Those are the options.
So you always want to start with the end in mind and work yourself backwards. And in this case, what I would say is you've got to know how long you're going to be in the gym, how intense the training is. Are you going to be, a lot of times people will say, oh, go to the gym, it'll give you energy throughout the day. Well, I'll tell you what, if you're doing what I'm doing, that is not the case.
Right.
You're going to be pretty beat up post-workout. If you're going in, doing a little cardio, doing some circuit training, maybe, yes, you will experience that boost. That's possible. So you've got to ask yourself, what style of training am I doing? How long am I usually in the gym? Because that'll take some of the guesswork out of it.
Right.
If you're going to be in the gym for 2 hours,
lunch break's not going to work.
Lunch break's not going to work. Most likely, you're not going to be able to wake up early enough to be in the gym before work.
Yeah.
So then you're kind of stuck with, okay, I'm working out in the afternoon after work. Yeah. How do I make that work?
Okay. Yeah.
Pros and cons is a great way to approach it, but I don't think it really applies.
Interesting.
Because every time that you train, can work for specific people. It is, as I always say, it's individual and it depends. This is just what it is. I'm never going to give you sensationalized claims about anything. I'm going to take you through the process.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. How long are you going to be in the gym? How intense is the training? In the past, have you felt energy after working out, or have you felt exhausted? Because I would say if you feel exhausted, you still need to live your life.
Yeah.
If you're working out at 6 a.m. and then you're going into work and you're falling asleep at 11 because you're so beat up, clearly that's not working for you. Yeah. The gym has to fit into your life.
Yeah. I don't really know do I feel energized after my workouts? Do you know?
I think you do to a certain degree. Yeah. It depends. Your training is so specific and moderate. So low impact that I think you would experience a little bit of an energy boost.
So honestly, it might be beneficial for me to work out during my lunch break.
That's what I would say.
I have an hour.
Yeah.
I can easily do my little whatever in that amount of time.
Yep.
And I'm very much I'm at my best, like mental acuity wise in the morning.
Yeah, I think both of us are like that.
And like by 3 o'clock,
Toast.
I'm not getting any quality work done.
Yeah.
Like I specifically save like little administrative things for like 3:30 to 4:30, like the last hour or hour and a half of my day, because I don't need to be doing any critical thinking after 3:30. It's not my best time. I would rather save it for 7:30 the next morning when I'm going to be like on fire.
Yeah. But I
don't know. But I think if I worked out during my lunch break, I maybe could get a little zhuzh at the end of the day.
Even if you don't, you've set up your schedule to the point that you, like you said, you can do the menial administrative tasks at a lower brain capacity.
Right.
So that's, I mean, you are approaching it the right way. And if you at home are trying to find out when to work out, you need to do a little bit of auditing of your schedule.
Yeah.
You need to do a little bit of auditing of your energy.
Right.
You cannot be at 100% all the time. No one is. Find the times that you work best. For both of us, we're mornings. We are ready to go.
Yeah.
I do my best creative work between the hours of 7 and 11 a.m. After that, I am toast.
Yeah.
Like you can tell. Sometimes we record the podcast later in the afternoon. I'm dead. But if we're, right now we're recording at 11, I'm good to go.
Right. Exactly.
So I know that. So I've scheduled my workout and I have a lot of flexibility. I always have to say this, my schedule, I make my own schedule because of what my work is. I can work out in the afternoon and then pivot to more learning tasks, smaller administrative tasks in the afternoon.
Yeah.
We have a lot of value in that we're able to do that with our schedule.
Well, and like if I went to a physical gym, I might not be able to do that on my lunch break.
True. You work out from home.
I work out at home, which gives me a lot more flexibility.
That's another great point.
I work from home and I work out from home.
You're living the dream
scenario.
I
am living the dream.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to lift super heavy, so I can, like we've talked about many times before, I can accomplish my goals at home.
Let's say that you were trying to step on the bodybuilding stage.
I would probably have to work out.
You have to work out after work.
Yep. I'd clock out at 4:30, gym from 5 to 6.
And this is the type of stuff that I talk about with people when they come to me and they say, hey, I want to be a bodybuilder or I want to be a high level power lifter. It's like, do you understand what that entails?
And a lot of times people
don't because they think, oh, whatever, a high level bodybuilding workout, unless you're a high intensity guy, and that has its merit. But even then, you're probably going to be in the gym for minimum an hour. If you're more of a volume-based training person, an hour and a half. God forbid you're in a cut and you've got to do cardio, another 20, 30 minutes on top of that. Don't even start on powerlifting. Good Lord.
You're in the gym for 2 hours a day.
Minimum. If I'm doing SBD, 3 hours. And I'm tight. I time my rest periods. Like I'm not sitting around. So... And there are some powerlifters that'll be in there 3-4 hours.
Yeah, it really becomes a part-time job when you're doing something at that high of a level.
So you have to be really comfortable with knowing your schedule and knowing when you're going to, The other thing I'll say, morning is tough because yes, you can't get great. A lot of people can't eat super early in the morning.
I can't.
So you've got to really leverage.
I was working out on an empty stomach.
Right. And again, that works for you.
My workout is not very intense.
I can't really do that with my style of training. And I don't think a lot of bodybuilders or powerlifters or CrossFit, I don't want to leave anybody out. Strong men, we love you. We're here for you.
Or just people.
In the morning, that's the one negative. But it is great to be like, I'm up, I did it, I'm done. I can have the rest of my day. That's fantastic. So I know a lot of people really vibe with that. And you can get a cup of coffee in, maybe a banana halfway through the workout. You're good. You're golden. Check out my video on how to eat. I believe it's called Eat Like This to Get Super Huge. I'll maybe put a card right here. I go through different nutrition windows for pre-workout. So if you want a couple of ideas, that would be a very valuable video for you to watch. But the benefit, so those are the pros and cons of that time. Afternoon, great time if you can get it to work. The big problem with the middle of the day, not a lot of people can do that.
Yeah. I think what I'm going to have to do is have a smart, late morning snack, heavy snack.
And then get yourself into.
And then work out and then eat lunch afterwards.
Well, yeah, all you would need was 30 grams of carbs.
Yeah.
You can have an English muffin and some honey.
What if I ate my mixed nuts?
Well, so nuts are pretty fatty. So again, if you
true.
watch the video,
I need to watch the video again, apparently.
higher fats pre-workout usually cause people to feel a little bit more sluggish. A pre-workout meal, you want to be densely carbohydrate based because that is where our energy comes from.
Okay.
Physical energy with a little bit of protein.
Okay.
As long, if it lines up. It can just be carbs.
Okay.
But again, go watch that video. It's got a lot of value for pre-workout. And then I'll say the positives of post-work training, like after, the 5:30 to 6 p.m. window, is it can fit into a lot of schedules.
That's what I used to do before I worked from home.
So, you got a lot of opportunities to be like, there's not a lot of excuses with that. You get done with work, you can go straight to the gym, you can get your workout done, you get out. The problem's there. That's when everybody else is working out. So it can be very frustrating to have to deal with the masses. That's why I hated it.
Yeah.
I've changed my schedule around so that I can go in the middle of the day when not a lot of people are there.
Yeah.
The other thing, if you lean on pre-workout caffeine, that can be very disruptive to sleep.
That's going to ruin your sleep.
So if your schedule is, let's say you start work at 9, if you have caffeine at like 5, the caffeine half-life is like 6 hours.
6 hours.
So you could make a case to say, okay, I will still be able to get a good amount of sleep if you're going to bed at 11 or 12.
Yeah. I mean,
there's a case to be made.
Half the caffeine would still be in your system at 11 o'clock, but
there's a case to be made for it. Yeah. It can work.
And everybody has caffeine.
Everybody tolerates it differently, right? Yeah. But that's something that you really got to worry about. But you will be more fueled based on your meals throughout the day. So you may not need the caffeine. You could be pretty decent in terms of your carbohydrate intake, your protein intake, and you just feel good in general.
Yeah. And for all my healthcare people working a 7 to 3 shift.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's what I used to do. I used to work like 7 to 3:30. I would be home around 4. Yeah. And then I would work out then.
Well, in that case,
I don't do caffeine before my workout, so that was not an issue for me.
But even then, you'd probably beat the rush in the gyms. Like, say you were working in the gym. So there you go. You take home message. You have to audit your time. Yeah. Everything in this world is going to try and take time away from you. That it is the most powerful resource we have. You have to give your time to your work because you need your job to be able to survive, right? So that's a block of time that you really can't manipulate. But be very, very discerning with the time outside of work. And then be very discerning with how you function as a human being. If you wake up, your feet hit the floor and you're ready to go, you might be a morning workout person. You might be able to get great work done and then have the rest of your day. Yeah. If you're really sluggish in the morning, you want to do your own morning routine, slower morning, after work. That's the best you can do. If you can fit it in. Yeah. If you're going in for, you get an hour for lunch, you're going in for a 30-minute circuit style training. Maybe you're not a huge sweater like me and you don't even have to shower to go back to work. Go for it. I used to train people on their lunch break all the time. Yeah. So it's possible. Yeah. But you have to be discerning with your time. You have to be discerning with your energy balance throughout the day and just find something that works best for you. Yeah. And it may change.
I was going to say, I think it's okay to kind of, think this through and say, all right, I'm going to do this. Yeah. And then you do it for like a month and it's like, this is really not working for me. Don't be afraid to change and try a different time.
Change doesn't mean quit going to the gym.
It's
right?
modify.
That's the thing. That a lot of people will say, "Oh, I just can't fit it in my schedule."
It's like, did you try
a different time in your schedule, or you just couldn't fit it in between the hours of 5 p.m. and 6 p.m.? Right. You have to, give it a 2 or 3 different goes. Yeah. And the other thing too is try and find a gym very close to your work or very close to your house. Yep. Because the last thing that I want, and a lot of resistance that I came upon with a lot of my clients was, I just live too far away, or I work too far away from the gym. I do not want to sit in traffic. We live in the hellhole of traffic in Atlanta. I don't want to commute to the gym the same way that I have to commute to work. Yeah. So you have, I would say, go to a worse gym that's closer, that still fulfills all your needs. Planet Fitness is fantastic if it's 5 minutes away from your house.
Yeah. Or even, I was just going to say, there's nothing wrong, using a weekend day for me, I think. I'm not going to be able to work out on every lunch break. If I'm shooting for, 3 times a week to work out twice during the work week and once on a Saturday when I can do it whenever I want.
Beautiful.
That's great. So that's a positive for some of these like big box gyms like Planet Fitness, Anytime Fitness, LA Fitness. There might be one close to your work and close to your home. So if you work out on a weekend, you don't have to drive 20 minutes to the one close to work that you hit on your way home every day. You can go to the one that's close to your house.
Yeah. And a lot of those memberships are very cheap and they include all gyms in your area.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yep.
But it's all about finding potential resistance to you making this change and coming up with a solution for it. Don't get caught with your pants down. Don't, like a week in, say, oh my God, driving 20 minutes to the gym is terrible. I quit.
Right.
Don't let that happen to you. Right. Have a plan of attack. Have a plan of action. This is what coaches are for.
Yeah.
I do this for free. I will do this with you for free. If you sign up for a consult and you just want to talk through some,
random questions,
random stuff, you want to troubleshoot some stuff, I do this all the time. I will talk to you about it with no expectation of payment. Like everybody thinks, oh my God, I got to pay. No, I'm just trying to help you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
you do a free
I have a free service for a reason. I want to help you because at the end of the day, I do this because this has changed my life and it will change your life, but you have to allow it to weave itself into the cracks of your schedule. Yeah. It's possible. It can be done. I know that I sit over here, I have a perfect schedule to train 2 hours a day. So it can sound like, oh yeah, it's easy for him to say. He works from home, she works from home. They can definitely fit it in their schedule. There are HVAC workers that are working 12s and 16s and are still going to the gym and are still getting it done. There are, nurses that are working 3 straight 24s or whatever, firemen. 3 straight 24s, 4 days off, and they're training on those 4 days off, and then they've figured it out how to rest on the 3 days. It is possible. It just takes a little bit of effort.
Yep.
So,
and you're probably not going to figure it out on your first shot. You're going to need
most likely you're not.
Make the best plan that you can, but know that you're probably going to have to modify it a little bit. And that's part of the journey, part of the process.
You're going to get punched in the mouth and you're going to have to figure out, okay, stick and move, don't quit.
Right.
That's all there is to be said. You have to and you can go down to 2 days a week. This is what I was going to say. The recommendation for physical activity, I believe, is like 22 minutes a day. Right?
Yeah. Something like that.
Something along that. I think they did it weekly now where it's like cardio is like 150 minutes
a week.
You can figure that out.
Yeah.
You can figure how to fit that in. Strength training, I would say 3 days a week. But you can get away with 2. Yeah. An upper body day, a lower body day, 2 full body days. You can get away with 2.
If you're going from 0 to 2, that's awesome.
Much better.
Yeah.
And then guess what? Success compounds.
Right.
Once you start to feel better, once you start to see your body change, then you say, okay, I can fit this in my schedule. Maybe there's a little space here on a Saturday or a Sunday, or maybe maybe I'm, spending 15 minutes on my lunch break scrolling through Instagram when I could,
go for a walk.
It compounds and you start to really seek out those changes rather than be very resistant to them. That's how it works. It's shocking, but that's how it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it'll work for you too. So there you go. Those are times to work out. We're on a tight schedule, so we're going to call it there.
All right.
Right?
Yeah.
You got anything else to say to the people?
I don't think so. Have a great week. Work hard. Go to the gym.
There you go.
That's about it.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Please join our Discord, become part of the community, subscribe to the channel, like the podcast, subscribe to us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram, all this stuff. We're everywhere. So we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.